Hi there! Welcome to your second lesson. I'm Bradley Petersburg, the head TOEFL instructor of the Sonorpolis Academy, where our mission is to help you get the best TOEFL score possible. In this lesson, we'll take a look at the ETS official grading rubric for the speaking section. We'll summarize 8 points for you to remember that will ensure your speaking success. Without further ado, let's start. You may wonder, why are we studying about the rubric? During the test, don't we just move our lips and speak what's on our mind to fill the time? I'm afraid to say that's not the case. Studying about the rubric is important for several reasons. First, the rubric communicates valuable information on how you're being graded. Know that ETS's expectations can give you more control and make you more confident as you speak, because you will know exactly what's going on. Second, the rubric gives a direction on how you can improve. Since it's broken down into multiple categories, if you find your ability is on the lower end for any particular category, you now have a framework to refer to as you move your way up. Lastly, you can use the rubric to evaluate your own speaking sample. We'll go over the 8 essential points of speaking success and use them to make a checklist in which you can refer to as you practice on your own. Here is the official ETS rubric. I know, it's rather long, but don't worry, we'll go over it together and break it down piece by piece. Specifically, we'll examine the advanced performance, low intermediate performance, and basic performance. Those categories basically illustrate the most important points for speaking success. Let's start with the advanced performance, the place you want to aim for. Test takers who receive a speaking section score at the advanced level are typically able to communicate fluently and effectively on a wide range of topics with little difficulty. The 2 key words here are fluently and effectively. To speak fluently means you speak smoothly without pauses and sudden stops. Instead of going too fast at some points and then too slow at others, your speech should maintain a nice flow and constant rhythm. Speak clearly and use intonation to support meaning so that speech is generally easy to understand and follow. Any minor lapses do not obscure meaning. The key points are clearly and to use intonation. Intonation means the rise and fall of the voice. Having good intonation means you are emphasizing and de-emphasizing correctly with your voice so that your listeners know what is important, as well as what the secondary concepts are in your speaking. You might have heard the term monotone, in which your pitch stays relatively flat, like this. I like to study English. What about you? You should avoid speaking in monotone during the test. The human or computer graders can pick that up easily, and that will definitely hurt your score, as TOEFL speaking places quite a lot of emphasis on speaking naturally. And natural speaking should have dynamic ups and downs. So the key point here is, put stress and emphasis on the important points in your speech. Speak with relative ease on a range of general and academic topics, demonstrating control of an appropriate range of grammatical structures and vocabulary. Any minor errors may be noticeable, but do not obscure the meaning. We want to pay attention to control of an appropriate range of grammatical structures and vocabulary. A good range of control of grammatical structures means using different sentence structures in your response. You would want to vary your speech with simple, complex, and compound sentences. Let's go over these concepts briefly. In order to fully grasp the various sentence structures, we have to understand the definition of dependent and independent clauses. A dependent clause expresses an incomplete thought and cannot stand on its own as a sentence. An example of this is, when the time ran out. It contains a subject, the time, and a verb, ran. Looking at the idea, one cannot help but ask, was the speaker doing something when the time ran out? If you feel this way, that's when you know you have a dependent clause. On the other hand, an independent clause is a clause that can stand alone as a sentence. It contains a subject, a verb, and possibly an object. An example is, I watch TV. I is the subject, watch is the verb, and TV is the object. It conveys a complete idea. Now we can move on to the sentence structures. A simple sentence is basically an independent clause that contains a subject, a verb, and an object. For example, I like Korean dramas is a complete idea by itself, no questions asked. A complex sentence contains both an independent clause and a dependent clause. An example of this is, when the typhoon came, I closed all the windows. When the typhoon came is an incomplete idea, a dependent clause, while I closed all the windows is a complete thought, an independent clause. And the combination of a dependent and independent clause gives us a complex sentence. Let's look at compound sentences. It contains at least two independent clauses connected by coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions simply mean words like for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. An example of a compound sentence is, I enjoy going to the movie theaters, but they are always crowded. When you give your speaking response for TOEFL, you would want to speak with not just simple sentences, but also a combination of complex and compound sentences. In our subsequent lessons, we'll go over sentence structures in more detail and strategies to express different sentence structures easily and automatically. Anyone can do it with ease. Let's continue with our rubric. Convey mostly well-supported summaries, explanations, and opinions, including both concrete and abstract information, with generally well-controlled organization and comprehension. Lapses may occur, but they rarely impact overall comprehensibility. The key point here is well-supported. As you provide your response, it is important to always explain your ideas with specific examples. Just as important, if not more, is to have a well-controlled organization and cohesion. Your ideas should be logically connected with transitional phrases. They should be expressed with progression, just like a narrative, a story. They shouldn't be all over the place, where you talk about one thing, then shift away to some remote and unrelated idea. All of your ideas should directly or indirectly answer the speaking prompts. We have now sorted out 5 points from the Advanced Performance category. Let's take a look at Low Intermediate Performance, as it tells us what to avoid as you speak. A low intermediate performer would commit the following. Produce short stretches of speech consisting of basic grammatical structures, connected with and, because, and so. I know that most people have a tendency to do this, but the excessive use of transitional words and phrases, like and, because, and so, should be limited. We will learn of more ways to transition and connect ideas in our speech in the subsequent lessons. For now, just remember to vary your use of transitions. Attempts at longer utterances requiring more complex grammatical structures may be marked by errors and pauses for grammatical planning or repair. Use vocabulary that is sufficient to discuss general or familiar topics, but limitations in range of vocabulary sometimes result in vague or unclear expression of ideas. So we all know this. Avoid grammatical errors and pauses, and vary your vocabulary. I know this is easier said than done, but we promise we'll provide you with strategies on how you can minimize errors, pauses, and articulate with sophisticated vocabulary. Lastly, let's look at basic performance. Speak slowly and carefully so that they can make themselves understood, but pronunciation may be strongly influenced by the speaker's first language and at times may be unintelligible. Speech may be marked by frequent pauses, reformulations, and false starts. As you may have heard, the ETS doesn't really care if you have an accent or not. However, the graders do care if the accent gets in the way of your ideas. Remember, clarity is really important, as most of the time the computer is grading your response. It could have easily mistaken a word for a different one, and improving on a heavy accent really comes with practice. Let's summarize the 8 points for speaking success. Speak fluently with limited pauses. Speak with good intonation, stressing the important parts in your speech. Diversify your sentence structures and vocabulary with simple, complex, and compound sentences. Support ideas with specific ideas and examples. Connect your ideas with good transitional words and phrases. Use a variety of effective transitions. Avoid grammatical errors. Speak clearly and confidently. We went over the 8 points of speaking success. We'll refer to them throughout the speaking course, and as you practice, we want you to always keep these points in mind. Your homework assignment for this lesson is this. I want you to read through the official rubrics and familiarize yourself with ETS's expectations. If you have enjoyed our content and would like the latest updates on our lessons, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel, and let us know by commenting down below. Which of the 8 points of speaking success do you think is the hardest to achieve and why, as well as any questions that you may have regarding the lesson. Lack of direction, not lack of time, is the problem. That's it for this lesson. I will see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.